So we're halfway through 2021. This year's just flying by. So today I'm going to stop and give you my top 6 favorite movies of the first half of the year. Hi, my name is Sean and I love to talk about movies way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Let me know your favorite movies of the first half of 2021. My list is not the right list. It's just my list and I would love to see yours. Also, if you think I might have missed something, was a little bit more under the radar that you think I would like, be sure to let me know down below in the comment section. One more thing before we get started, there is a companion video to this over on my Patreon page with 6 more of my favorite movies from the first half of 2021. If you enjoyed this video and want more of it, you can join at any level to unlock that video and so much more. And let's get started. Coming in at number 6 is Nobody. Now, this is a movie that was absolutely not on my radar until the very first trailer dropped, and I was immediately sold. The trailer presents itself as kind of a John Wick-esque movie with Bob Odenkirk in the lead, and I was sold based off that concept in and of itself. Then I discovered that it is actually from the writer of John Wick, and even more so, I was dying to watch this movie, and it did not disappoint. Bob Odenkirk was the action hero I never knew that I wanted, and while it very much delivers the sort of experience that you want from a John Wick-esque film, it's also very different. John Wick is a movie about an isolated man who loses everything and goes out for revenge. This is about a man who has a family that he doesn't want to lose. It's kind of the opposite while delivering the same sort of action, as well as Bob Odenkirk is not a Keanu Reeves, and so the style of the action plays out very differently, but both have great world building, both have fun scenarios, both deliver fantastic action. This one has even more of a little bit of a sharp, subtle sense of humor to it that you'd expect from a movie starring Bob Odenkirk. Now, the other big surprise here is that Christopher Lloyd is another action hero I never knew that I wanted. I never would have guessed. I would love seeing him firing a shotgun, but it absolutely was just as much fun as you'd imagine that it would be. But it was absolutely just as fun as you'd imagine it would be. The other big surprise with this one, my wife absolutely loved it too. She saw the trailer and she goes, I'm in. I want to go see that right now. And then she couldn't go see it when I saw it in the theater, so we bought it as quickly as we could, and she's rewatched it multiple times since then. And made us start watching Better Call Saul as a follow-up. In 5th place, Raya and the Last Dragon, the latest Disney animation film. From the very first trailer, I suspected I was really going to like this film because it looked like a mix of fantasy, Indiana Jones, and martial arts, and that's essentially what it is, and I had a blast with this one. Big part of that is that it has like really rich mythology and world building going on. It also has visceral action when it happens. I mean, you can feel the moves that they're doing. And in fact, they did mocap to try and do these fights in it. There was a segment on Corridor Crews Stuntman React where they showed the behind the scenes footage of how they did these fight sequences, which was very cool. And you can see it in the movie itself. And then simply beyond that, it's a story that doesn't have two-dimensional characters. The hero has flaws, weaknesses, and makes mistakes that lead to problems later in the film. And the villain has a sympathetic backstory and you understand why she's doing what she's doing. And all of it is built around the central theme about trust that runs throughout the entire thing. So for me, this was a Disney animation film that touched on all the sorts of things that I like, but most importantly, my 7-year-old daughter absolutely loved it. She actually declared it. It was her favorite movie of all time. Right after the movie came out, she made us go out and buy a bunch of Sisu toys and stuff, so those now populate our house. In 4th place, The Father. Of the Best Picture nominees this year, this was absolutely my favorite of the bunch. And essentially it tells the story of a man with cognitive decline and dementia, but it tells it from his perspective, and it borrows the tropes of the horror genre to show the real world horror that someone with dementia and the people around them have to live with. And I can't recall a movie since Memento 20 years ago that did such a good job of lining up a central character's mental condition with clever storytelling techniques to put the audience in the position of that character in this world, as we don't know what's real, what's not, who is his real daughter, who's not, how all the pieces fit together, what's the order in which they actually take place, which is the condition that the lead character is actually facing, played by Anthony Hopkins, who of course gives a phenomenal performance. It's compelling, it's disorienting, but it doesn't overstay its welcome, and it keeps changing up its bag of tricks where scenes will loop back into themselves, scenes will replay, but with different actors playing different people, and all sorts of different things happen that just continually to disorient the audience, all leading to a satisfying conclusion. Real quick before I give you my top 3, remember to join me down below in the comment section. Let me know your picks for the best of the first half of 2021, and let me know about any under the radar films that you think I missed, but that I would enjoy. Also remember, there is a companion video to this over on my Patreon page with 6 more of my favorite movies of the first half of the year. To give you just a couple of runner-ups that are over there that are kind of under the radar that you might not have heard about. First one is called Bloody Hell. It's a story about this guy that gets locked up, and it's kind of like Escape from the House type story, but it's flashing back to what happened with him beforehand, and it just like has a nice sense of humor, some cool action sequences, some horror elements, blends all those genres together really well, has a great lead character.
No, that's disgusting. Yippee-ki-yay. No, it's been done. I still...
Other one is Boss Level. It's a time loop action movie that just plays out like this live action video game. Frank Grillo's in the lead. Mel Gibson's one of the villains. It's from Joe Carnahan. So if you haven't checked that one out, highly recommend that one. But you can hear my full thoughts on those 2 movies plus 4 more with that companion video over on Patreon. The next 3 on the list all got an A, so essentially they're tied. In third place is The Mitchells vs. the Machines. Now this is a movie where I don't think I even watched a trailer for it before I saw the movie, but I'd heard some positive buzz from people saying that it was like a really good animated film, and checked it out on Netflix, and it just blew me away on every single level. The animation is new and distinct and fun, and it feels like it borrows a lot of techniques from kind of like meme culture and these sudden references to things, but it does it in a way that's the better version of it, that's fresh and clever and witty and has all sorts of callbacks to things. And then just even the way that it uses animation to kind of bring things to life, to show the perspective of the characters, what they're thinking, what they're highlighting, their emotional state. It uses animation and the techniques that only work in drawing to flesh out the film in clever ways. And of course tells this story that's a road trip movie, it's a family drama, and it's a robot Holocaust film all at the same time. And somehow, as chaotic and different as those all sound, it pulls together properly because you care so much about this family. And the characters themselves are interesting. Whatever adventure they're on, whether it's a road trip, a fight at the house, or battling robots, you care about them and what happens to them. Therefore, all of it's entertaining. All of it's funny. And so it's a movie that made me laugh out loud. It looked interesting. I liked the story. I loved the characters. And I was laughing out loud from beginning to end. And this is the movie this year that my household has rewatched the most time. Now, I have 3 kids under the age of 10, so it's not uncommon they rewatch things a lot. And they have rewatched this movie a lot. And that hasn't been a problem because my wife and I also love this movie. Our runner-up, A Quiet Place 2. This is a sequel that was exactly the right way to follow up the original film. It's a great companion that manages to continue all the things that worked about the first film while expanding the world, adding more characters in, and taking you to the places that you want to go. At the end of the first film, you thought to yourself, that was really cool, but it's also self-contained. What else is going on in the world? What's going on with other survivors? And that's what this movie provides. The stakes are larger, the emotions are just as big and personal, but it's not a rehash of the first one. It's a very different type of story, but delivers the same satisfying thrills and emotional payoff. A big part of that is what they did with Cillian Murphy's character, and he's nothing like John Krasinski and his arc in it, but it's just as satisfying to see where he starts at the beginning and where he is at the end of the film. And while it's a movie that is in a very bleak state where the world is at, it's not cynical. It has an optimism to it where people have redemption, where people still change. Some people have gone dark, but others are still hopeful. And I love that about this film. So for me, it was everything that I wanted it to be. that expanded the world, expanded the stakes, and did this cool cross-cutting thing with the storytelling where three storylines were all going on at the same time, all of them building tension at the same time, and then all of them releasing that tension at the same time. Just very clever storytelling, way to layer the story. Like, I got nervous halfway through this movie when they split the characters up and thought, I don't think this is going to work, and it absolutely did. Definitely a great follow-up. But in first place currently for me is Zack Snyder's Justice League, the movie that I never really thought we were going to get this film. I never imagined that the studio would actually give him $70 million to properly complete his film. I expected 15 years from now, they'd release kind of like whatever cut he had with incomplete special effects or borrowed footage from the other version or something like that. And then they actually gave him the chance to make his movie the way he wanted it. And from my perspective, it was better on every single level than the previous version of this film, the abomination that was the theatrical release of this movie. And a big part of that is that because it's such a large, sweeping story, it can take the time to set up threats, character arcs, develop them, and then pay them off. It has the time to do all of that. Everyone gets a fleshed out backstory, development, an arc, and then a payoff in the final few chapters of the film. And that to me was, I just went into it expecting a longer version of the movie we got before. I was expecting it to be better, good, but this was just a perfect example of what happens when you take a big sweeping story and just try and condense it into 2 hours and tell the story without developing everything, without giving it time to slow cook. When you microwave a story, it's not nearly as good as it would have been if you cooked it properly, and that's what this film did. This is Zack Snyder's magnum opus. I thought it absolutely delivered. I'm still just in shock that they removed some of the stuff with the Flash and turning back an explosion and replacing it with the Flash pushed a car. Like that, I can't fathom who came up with that terrible idea, but I felt so many big emotions while watching this version of the film. I loved it. So as of right now, it's my favorite movie of 2021 thus far. Be sure to share your list down below in the comments section. If you want to hear my other 6 favorite films of the year thus far, check out that link down below in the description. Join at any level on Patreon to unlock that video and more. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much.